Managing communication in today's world is quite crucial. Concerned persons have over time linked gaps in communication management to several national crises. Today, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations is beaming its searchlight on communication management in tertiary institutions with the intention of upscaling strategies from propaganda and lobbying to other methods. The practitioners believe the art of public relations should be deployed in all areas of communication, including day-to-day events, as well as crisis scenarios. They insist that public relations is a more acceptable method of communication management since it appropriately evaluates public attitudes so as to win their goodwill. These issues inform our focus on upscaling communication strategies in tertiary institutions in the country. Welcome to Nigeria Today. I am your carrier, Clinton. Joining us to speak on upscaling communication strategies in tertiary institutions is Dr. Peter Uyine, Fellow, Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. He's also the Chairman, Planning Committee for the 3rd National Conference of Public Relations Practitioners in Tertiary Institutions Conference. Thanks for joining us on Nigeria Today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Also joining us is Dr. Benedicta Ehanire. You are the University PRO, University of Benin. Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you, Carrier.
And by the way, Dr. Benedicta is also a former staff of the NTA. So
thank you. Good to be here.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with you, Dr. Peter. Okay. Sorry, I would have started with the ladies first, but
ladies so first after me.
Yeah, but then I will start with you. Dr. Peter, I was just wondering, while going through the introduction, I was just wondering why the searchlight on tertiary institutions. What is it about the way tertiary institutions manage communication currently that is, calls for this conference?
Okay, thank you very much. The first thing about tertiary institutions is that they are big organizations and they have all manner of groups in them. And if you are going to drive these people to achieve the mandate of your institution or institutions, you must be communicating 24/7. If you just allow a gap, in fact, in communication we say you cannot even create a gap because people will feel it with their own stories, with their own narrative that may not be positive. So organizations, institutions must be communicating on a regular basis so that you can carry a lot of groups within the institution along. They can know what the vice chancellor has in mind, what the rector has in mind, what we are doing, why we are doing it. Even when we have challenges, what are you doing about the challenges? There is no perfect society. But now when something goes wrong, what are you doing to fix it? So you need communication to do all of those. In fact, we cannot even cease communication for 1 hour in a school and there won't be a crisis. So communication is everything in a school. And that's why we're looking at how to upscale the communication strategies so that schools can do better in their communication programs.
Okay, presently what they are doing is not too okay, is that?
If we talk about schools in our country, higher schools in our country, they are well over 250. You understand? So some may be doing it well, some may not do it well. But even for those who are doing it well, there is a need to upscale. Things are changing they are changing day in, day out. When we were in school, we were local students. You could just go to class and say there are 7 factors, why, whatever. All the students will say, okay. Today, if you go to a class and say there are 7 factors, why you are saying it, they will do like this. And they will see 77 other factors. So the lecturer will have 7 factors, student will have 77 factors. So you are dealing with the Gen Z, okay? So you must be up and doing. So you have to upscale. You have to upscale.
But I'll come to you, Dr. Benedicta. I know the satellite is deemed on the is being beamed on the universities now, and you are a university PRO. Now, I will ask, what are some of the challenges that you experience, or will I say the PRO staff, kind of encounter in carrying out their duties in the university?
As a tail off from what Dr. Oyene just said, the universities, how would I say it? The young people, the youths who are the main, the main residents of universities. The young people, these are restive people. These are people who have the ideas. As he has just said, these are new generation people. These are not people that you can tell stories of, my grandmother, my grandfather kind of stories. They are well ahead of whoever is telling them any story because they have access to the internet, they have access to a lot of technologies. So when you are dealing with that class of people, you also have to try to be ahead. So that's a major challenge. So unless, as someone usually says, unless you are current, you cannot be correct. So unless you are also upscaling, unless you are also improving yourself, you cannot reach out to these people. So a major challenge is the fact that in most cases they are ahead of you. They are ahead of you. So there is nothing much you can tell them if you cannot convincingly tell them whatever you need to tell them. So it's important that as you manage students who are your primary constituency anyhow, as you manage them, you have to be up there to be able to get to them. So that's a major challenge.
Okay. Now, Dr. Peter, I know if you noticed in their institutions, propaganda and lobbying has really thrived as a, a method of, as a preferred method of communication management. Now, in your, well, you are a professional, so so what are the issues with this method of handling communication and information management?
Okay, that's lobbying and
propaganda.
Let me start from propaganda. Propaganda is not acceptable in public relations because it has to do with how can we cut corners? How can we cover the truth so that people will not know? So we do not accept it in PR. PR must be based on truth and nothing but the truth. While we are at the conference today, we told ourselves that it's better we do not allow that bad thing to happen. Because when it happens, we are not trying to cover it. You can't cover it anymore. If it was a long time ago, you could cover it. But today, while you are doing something, somebody is filming, you won't know. So when you say it never happened, you just see there. So propaganda is not acceptable again. What you should do is that they deliver quality service and tell the world. That is PR. But peradventure, while you are trying to do that, something goes wrong. All you have to do is to come out with your hands in the air and say, we are sorry. We made this mistake. And this is what we're doing to redress it. That is PR.
Which is not common in Nigeria.
Which is not common, but that is best practice in PR. Now, lobbying is acceptable, is an acceptable tool in public relations practice. Lobbying means provision of facts and figures to decision makers so that they will take the right decisions. The National Assembly is there. Let me give you an instance. Let's look at the State Assembly, probably in Edo State or Ogun State. You may not have an aviation expert in the assembly, but the assembly will still legislate about aviation if that state intends to float a line. You understand? So those guys that will legislate, we must give them data, we must give them facts and figures, so that when they have that, they'll be able to take decisions and say, okay, if you want to start an aviation business in this state, this is what you do, this is what you do. So when you give people information, you are lobbying them to buy what you are selling. So lobbying is acceptable, but not the negative side of lobbying, or do I say the bastardized side, where people talk about give them money so that they will do your bidding. No, that is not acceptable in PR. The lobbying that we accept in PR is making available figures and data and figure so that somebody can take a decision. That's it.
So, Dr. Benedicta, having heard all Dr. Peter said there, one will readily want to know, what are the benefits of communication management, in our tertiary institutions and other institutions, not just tertiary institutions, but what are the benefits of communication management?
The first benefit is the fact that you can avoid a lot of issues that are not palatable. Once you communicate effectively and early enough, you're able to arrest any situation that can degenerate to some negative occurrences, such as protests. If you carry people along, if you communicate effectively, again, communication and effective communication. Effective communication entails that you also, provide mechanisms by which you can have feedback. When you talk to people, also listen to people, not just a one-way flow, a two-dimensional flow. As you talk to your publics, including the students, including the staff, also listen to them. Get their own ideas. Make everything into a holistic package so that at the end you can arrest any untoward, occurrence. We have a lot of, in fact, most universities today are quite volatile because of, the nature of things that are happening. No one, wants any violence or whatever, but when people are tensed, sometimes you cannot avoid some of these situations. So it's important that the communicator in the university, is able to reach out to the publics, especially, as I've said, the restive youths. Many of our youths, our students today are impatient. They are very impatient. So you have to, devise a means by which you can truly reach out to them. You can be persuasive, especially when policies are not going in the ways that, they envisage or in the ways that are favorable to them. In fact, they are so impatient. I deal with a lot of students. They come to me. They want to hold a conference on a Monday, and then they are bringing their paper Friday. You have Saturday, Sunday, and they want you to approve. The channel of approval is the Vice Chancellor, but we implement what the Vice Chancellor has approved. As they send the letter to the Vice Chancellor on a Friday for a program that is going to happen on a Monday, they want you, who is going to provide the venue for them and the facilities, to go ahead and then you tell them, this has not been approved. And they say, but we are here. The program is Monday. We have invited guests from outside. So sometimes you try to educate them. You had planned this program for 1 month. Why come now? But they are impatient. So sometimes you find yourself taking up their letters to go face to face with your principal to say, sir, please get this, approve this, so that we can act on it. So that's the nature of our students. And unless you do that, they perceive you as someone who is not cooperating with them. So you have to play to them. In most cases, we have many of our principals, we look at them as our children. Although sometimes they say, no, you are not my mother, you are not my father. Well, you meet with all sorts of youths, but they are our youths. So we are happy to relate with them. We are happy to bend in most cases so that there will be peace. That's essentially what it is all about.
Thank you very much. It is still Nigeria today. I will take a break right now, but the conversation will continue after the break. Just stay with us.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow, under digital economy, for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different?
We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that our questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around all crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Back, it is still Nigeria Today, and we are looking at upscaling communication strategies in tertiary institutions. My guests are still here with me, a lady and a gentleman.
Thank you.
Dr. Peter, earlier on, she said quite a lot of things, the benefits of, communication, managing communication or effectively, just like she rightly said. Now, I know that in communication management, I know there are steps, that must be taken if it will, be effective. Well, how important is it for professionals to, man the, professional PR? Because a lot of institutions, they assume they know.
Okay.
They assume they have this knowledge.
Okay.
So they are managing it perfectly well. But at the end of the day, they are doing it wrongly. So how important is it for us to have professionals as PR,
Thank you
PR
very much. Ikeria. See, the one thing we should know is that if you are sick, you don't go to a carpenter. So if you need communication, okay, go to the communication expert. And the law, the Act of Parliament number 16 of 1990 gave the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations the power to manage and to regulate public relations practice in Nigeria. So it means if you need a public relations practitioner, you can get across to the institute, you can get across to some members. Because, see, let me tell you something. If a civil engineer, okay, works on a building and the thing comes down, if there are 10 people there, 2 may be injured, 4 may die, and what have you, and that's it. Mechanical engineer fixes a car and it's not properly done, the thing may be involved in an accident, 2 people are inside, 1 person may get injured. If a communication expert makes a mistake, it can lead to a war. In a war, thousands of people may die. So we don't just give it to anybody. It should be people who are properly qualified, who are properly trained. And that is why we have this conference for public relations practitioners in tertiary institutions. That every year, let's let's reason together. Let's look at our strategies. Let's see whether they are still working. Let's see where we have to upgrade them. Let's listen to University PRO from UniBen. Let's listen to the person coming from Covenant University. Let's compare notes. Let's see what they're doing better than the way I do it so that we can learn from ourselves. So it's very important that PR people must be properly trained, okay, and they must continuously sharpen their skills, especially in a country, in a situation now where what worked just 2 weeks ago may not work now. So in a situation like that, you can't just sit there thinking that you know it all. You've got to come out, you've got to be trained.
So, Dr. Benita, how can these tertiary institutions learn from the global best practice to ensure excellent PR in the management of communication in these institutions?
Well, global best practices entail integrity, saying things the way they are. He spoke now about truth, about facts, and like he has said, propaganda has no place in public relations. Lobbying, influence peddling, yes, globally acceptable. So those are some of the strategies you can imbibe, to effectively communicate. And for tertiary institutions, you are dealing with, for example, eggheads, professors, so not just the students. So that's another kettle of fish. People who are well-read, people who know many of these things more than you do, many who have traveled, but as a professional, you have a responsibility, to prove your own professionalism by ensuring that whatever you communicate to them, that's the entire public in the university space, whatever you communicate with them is factual. Otherwise, as you have said, if you want to cut corners, try to, if you have a principal who is not too, well, I don't want to use anything negative. If you have a principal who is not, well approved of, you have to also still be diplomatic so that you are not seen as just somebody who is bootlicking or something. You have to do things right as a public relations practitioner. You don't want to be seen as an errand boy, errand girl kind of thing. You still have to practice your own profession by ensuring that your integrity is intact. Global best practices, say things as they are. Do not try to whitewash anything. You have a responsibility as the image maker of the university, and then you must separate the university from the personalities, so that the brand, which is the university, is, you know, an organization that is globally accepted, not one that is tainted, you know, on account of anybody, you know, being on a negative side. So the university at all times must carry a positive image. That is why sometimes when people fall, when people in positions of authority fall, the university should not fall with such people. The university should stand, because that is the image that you are building, that is the image you are making. So that's, well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peter. I was wondering, we are now in the era of social media. The internet, a lot of information flying here and there. So how do we leverage modern technology to upscale communication strategies in these tertiary institutions?
Okay, thank you very much, Kyria. We also addressed this today at the conference. We talked about the fact that we don't need to lie to ourselves. These Gen Zs, they are the one, these young guys, they are the one in charge. So we told ourselves that let's go out. Those guys who wants to come and serve with us under NYC, bring them, accept them. They are the one that will drive your social media unit. So in fact, every public relations department should have a social media unit. Put those young guys there and they will do wonders. Okay, they will do wonders. They just come in like this, okay, and things are moving. Things are moving. You understand? Then for those of us who are older, we must also take trainings. And I also said it at the conference that our children are our teachers. When you get back home now, before you know it, they've picked your phone. Say, where's my phone? They say, Daddy, I'm doing whatever. So tell me, how do I do this? They will show it to you. Some of us want to run away from, we can't run away from social media. It has become a part and parcel of our life. But let's just learn it more. And one thing I like about it, that the moment you put your hand on it, you learn more. You keep learning more. Okay, and you know, these our students we're talking about, that is where they are. If you put stuff sometimes on the mass media, they may not see it, but put it on their own platform. They will be there, they will respond, they will follow you. So we must upgrade in that area as well. And we must bring in the young people to drive our social media unit in the public relations department in tertiary institutions across the land.
Okay, just still on you, Dr. Peter.
Okay.
You know, we're talking about tertiary institutions, and you know, you talked so much about how important it is for us to have a professional managed, and you see that. I just want to go a little bit, you know, yet from a little bit from what we're saying. Okay. Now we also have. Primary schools, we have our secondary schools. Yeah. Is it not wise if we have professionals managing communication in these institutions?
It is very, very wise. Professional PR people are needed in any organization where communication takes place. And I'm here to see any organization, whether schools or religious bodies or wherever, where they do not communicate. Somebody had said that even when you go to the mortuary, communication takes place there. Communication takes place in the mortuary because they will put the name tag of that guy on his leg. So when you get there, they say, what's the name of the guy you've come to see? That's communication for you.
Thank you very much. We don't really have that's the what you can take. That's where we draw the curtain for Nigeria today. But before we go, we must appreciate Dr. Peter Uyine, fellow Nigerian Institute of Public Relations and Chairman Planning Committee for the 3rd National Conference of Public Relations Practitioners in Tertiary Institutions Conference. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution.
You're welcome, Kyria.
I also must thank Dr. Benedicta Ehanire, University PRO, University of Benin, and also a former staff of the NTA. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
And also for our viewer, thank you for always being a part of this. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs weekdays at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.